Most people know about Hollow Knight. It feels like everyone has been waiting forever for the release of its sequel, Silksong. But I find it very strange that most people I have spoken to give me the same response. Oh yes, Hollow Knight. I have been meaning to give that a try. Apparently it's really good. If this game truly is as good as so many people make it out to be, then how is it that I am the only person I know that has actually played it? Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania Souls-like platformer. If you don't know what that means, don't worry. I will break it down as we go. I played this about 4 years ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed every bit of it. Now that Silksong has finally received a concrete release date, it seems like the perfect time to talk about all the good and bad that this renowned game has to offer. You play as a small knight who begins his journey by entering the quiet town of Dirtmouth. An old man explains to you that beneath this town lies the vast and maddened kingdom of Hallownest. That's all you get. No one tells you which way to go or what you should or shouldn't be doing. This is what the entire game is like. There are no map markers and there is no real direction. I think that Cornifer, a resident of Dirtmouth, describes it best. A huge, unending kingdom to explore, right on our doorstep. Exploration aside, the other main aspect of Hollow Knight is the combat. When I first tried this game, it felt rigid and restrictive. I wasn't having the good time that the online buzz promised. But as I spent more time with it, I realized that while it certainly is rigid, it isn't restrictive. It's precise. You have complete control at all times, which can allow for some beautiful expressions of skill. And don't worry if you can't master it right away, there is a plethora of unique and difficult enemies to test your mettle. As I mentioned before, this is a Metroidvania. That means you can go anywhere you like, but you will not be able to access every area from the start of the game, due to not having the right skills or abilities. This takes that concept to the extreme, by also removing some core functionality. When you begin Hollow Knight, you don't even have a map that you can open, and by the time you do get one, it's barely usable. It's incomplete, it doesn't update as you explore, and worst of all, you can't even see where you are. Slowly but surely, you will get the tools you need to bring your map up to scratch. This adds to the element of being directionless. However, there are two sides of this directionless coin, and how it lands for you really depends on what you enjoy. Because there is nothing at all telling you where to go, you could very easily end up getting lost and confused. Or, being completely free to forge your own path, you could enjoy discovering all there is to offer. Personally, I did experience both sides. At first, I felt overwhelmed by the amount of branching paths available to me, but as I grew familiar with different areas, I became more excited to see what else there was to come. This is a very big game. It may appear small and unassuming due to the cute characters and hand-drawn art, but there is a gigantic world to explore. Just to give you an idea, I would like to note that all the footage you are seeing in this video has been taken from just the first 4 areas that I explored. There are so many more that I don't want to show you because I don't want to spoil anything. One of the issues with the size of this world is the very limited fast travel options. There is usually one station per zone, and you can only fast travel from station to station. The impact of this has you spending a lot of time running back and forth through common areas that you have cleared multiple times before. Looking forward to Silksong, I hope that this is something they address, as it can cause some friction with your experience. Speaking of zones, there are plenty of different biomes and areas to experience. Each has its own themes, including unique enemies and unique platforming tasks. There is also a whole cast of memorable characters scattered around the world, and while none of them have any real voice acting, they all stand out in their own way for one reason or another. The open-ended nature of exploration means that there are multiple different paths you can take to reach the same zone, which is a nice touch for a game with such an emphasis on exploration. As each zone comes with its own platforming tasks, it'll also require you to have certain abilities to be able to enter it. Similar to other Metroidvanias, the abilities you learn that allow you to access new areas double up as new skills in your combat toolbox. Earlier, I used the term precise to describe the combat, and I really don't think there is a better word for it. Every action you do can be controlled or modified. Some examples here are variable jump height, directional attacks, or dashes that can have their cooldown or direction modified. The list could go on and on, but the end product is a combat experience that is completely in your hands. It is what you make of it, and if you put the time in to learn it and its quirks, then I guarantee you that you will have a really good time. I can't talk about this game and not talk about pogo jumps. Pogo jumping is when you're in the air and you do a downwards attack and hit something. You will propel yourself upwards. This is an important part of your kit, as it not only lets you stay above enemies, but also allows you to move over some terrain that you usually wouldn't be able to cross. It can be difficult to get the hang of at first, but once you do, you will be using it all the time. There is a reason why so many people consider this game a Soulslike. If you are not familiar with what that means, here it is. Combat in this game is hard. You will very often be getting stuck on bosses, needing to try them again and again until you learn their attack patterns. I know some would be put off by this difficulty level, but to me, this is the difference between a game that I get bored with and a game that I pour my time into. Continuing with what makes this a Soulslike, dying drops all of your currency, and you need to fetch it before dying again, or else it'll be gone for good. Hallownest makes this more fun by dropping a shade instead. You need to go back to where you last died and kill this shade to get your money back, but it won't let you have it back easily. As you get stronger, so too does your shade. Another thing to make combat even harder is the fact that there are no health bars. At no point during a fight do you have any idea of how far into the fight you actually are. This can be frustrating at times because you can feel like you are spending so long chipping away at a boss only to die, and you don't even know if you are close to defeating them or not. And while not knowing can be frustrating, it can also be exciting. Because you can't gauge how far the end is, you don't know when you can or can't take risks. Taking these risks feels riskier and therefore more rewarding when they turn in your favor. A real pain point that I think will defer a lot of people is the lack of benches. Benches act as a rest spot, similar to that of a bonfire from Dark Souls. Not only do you respawn at the last bench you sat on, but sitting also heals you to full and respawns all enemies. The problem here is that very often the benches are positioned quite some distance from the bosses. This means that after you lose a boss battle, which will probably happen quite often, you need to travel quite far back to get to that boss to try again. It's worse if that particular path is full of hard to avoid enemies, as it forces you to take the time fighting them too. Fixing this is another improvement I would love to see in the next game, as I don't see how this adds to the experience. The last thing I want to mention here is the enemy variety. There is a huge selection of unique enemies and bosses, each with their own traits and attacks that all make them feel so different. Some of my favorite parts are when you're fighting a boss and things just start going insane. It feels like such a rush when they are constantly aggressive and there is no time to take a break or catch your breath. All the while, you are trying to get some attacks in wherever you can. I have covered the Metroidvania and Souls-like content. Lastly, I just want to touch on the platforming side. There isn't a large amount to really say here, but it does need to be said. A platformer is a game where you spend a good amount of time jumping between platforms, usually dodging traps or spikes. Not only will you be jumping a majority of the time to get around the world, but there are also some dedicated platforming sections. If you dislike platforming games, then this is not the game for you. There are some sequences later on in the game which can be incredibly difficult. If you are not someone who is usually good at this sort of thing, but you are still willing to give it a try, I commend you. But don't say I didn't warn you. I'm sure no one can disagree that from the moment you see the art style, you are curious about what this game is about. There is something so captivating and intriguing about the manner in which the world and characters are presented. From crystal mines to bubble-filled canyons, each zone feels like it has been ripped out of its own universe. Each new zone encourages your adventurous nature to delve deeper into Hallownest. It's hard to fully comprehend how much effort went into the artwork of this game. Everything you see has been hand-drawn, then stitched together to create an incredibly detailed and polished product. Top that off with sound effects and a soundtrack that rivals that of Halo, and this is what you are left with. Artistically, Hollow Knight is an amazing accomplishment, and I believe that to be true even if there was no real game beneath it all. When I decided to make this review, I needed footage, and I wanted to have a refresher before I started my script. Because I had finished the whole game before, I was thinking about what I was planning to talk about and what kind of footage I specifically wanted. But as soon as I stepped back into this world, I forgot about all of that, and I just enjoyed it again. There is something very special about the execution of this game. It has such a good blend of mechanics and difficulty that sits perfectly for me. It's a hard game that rewards curiosity and forces you to meet it on its terms. There is a lot to explore and a lot to learn. From practicing your parkour to honing your skills, this game is a massive commitment. It is a difficult one to recommend because while it achieves so much over so many aspects, the combination of very challenging combat and the requirement of deep exploration may not sit well for many. With all of these things considered, I don't recommend Hollow Knight for anyone who wants to settle for a casual or laid-back experience. I only recommend Hollow Knight to those who are willing to push themselves to improve through trial and error. And in saying that, I really hope that many of you are, because it truly is an amazing game, and I can't wait to see what comes next. If you have enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, my channel is right here. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see next, and I'll see if I can make it happen. Thanks for watching.